This video is to introduce and demonstrate the pre-planner. The best description that I can come up with is that a pre-planner is a fact find on steroids. Stay with me and see what you think. On opening the program, the main choices are to start a new pre-planner or open an existing one. We're going to start a new pre-planner. Two pages are displayed. The one on the left is for data entry, and the one on the right gives instant feedback, allowing us to see the client's situation evolve as data is entered. Having completed the personal details, the first figure appears in the cash flow table. This is child benefit, which usually will be paid to the wife. As we add the data for earnings and spending, the cash flow table is continuously updated, including the tax and national insurance contributions. As we move on to the assets and investment page, we might decide to look at the balance sheet on the right-hand page rather than cash flow. As entries are made, the balance sheet is updated. Also, some of the investment income fields at the bottom of the page turn pink. This is a visual cue that an entry is likely to be required. And on to insurance-based investments. Again, current values get added onto the balance sheet. For investment plans, you also get an estimate of its maturity value in today's terms, i.e. after adjusting for expected inflation. Now we're on the page for personal pensions, and here I made a genuine typo. In the excitement of the moment, I entered Helen's pension contribution as £28,000 rather than £2,800. As you can see, there is an estimate of what her pension will be in real terms. I was quite sure we didn't expect it to be anything like as much as that, so I was able to review the entries and make a correction. We've moved on now to occupational pension schemes, and I've started making entries for John's final salary scheme. I'm going to put the cash flow page up on the right-hand side so that you can see the effect of John's pension contribution on his income tax. As we've been making entries, you may have noticed small red triangles in the top right corner of some of the cells. These indicate that if you hover the cursor in the cell, a comment will appear. These comments could give help on the type of entry required, or information on the calculation displayed. On completing the debt page, you get estimates of annual interest payments and capital repayments, if any. After entering the education expenses, you will find at the bottom of the page two buttons which will calculate for you the funding costs, either on a lump sum or annual basis. The assumptions and forecast page will be pre-populated with your company's current expectations. Where your client chooses to override any of these, the cells are highlighted in light blue. And finally, to the protection policies page, where you enter details of any protection already in place, premiums and sums assured. Having completed data entry, we could now review the cash flow. This details income before and after tax, itemizes spending, and highlights the surplus. Lower down the page, you can see how this surplus is to be allocated. The balance sheet we've already seen and doesn't really need further explanation. Tabbing on to the right, we come to the dashboard, which charts cash flow and asset allocation for John and Helen separately. Moving on again, we come to a table of pension projections. These are at 5-year intervals, starting when John is 55. This start year can be adjusted to something more appropriate. Further down the page are the streams of pension income from Helen for the same years. And further down again, their projected pension income is compared to the gross income they need to cover required spending. Of course, this is only a partial picture. It doesn't consider their investment income, which may be quite substantial. Also, on the spending side, no account is taken of discretionary spending, nor of any items of occasional spending which may be desired. Nevertheless, this is a solid starting point for their retirement planning. The pre-planner can also help you make a start on protection planning. From the drop-down at the top of the page, you select the situation to be investigated. Under Capital, you can see the investments which will be transferred into Helen's name. You can also see the amount of money which she will receive from the encashment of John's investments and pensions, together with the payout from existing policies. Beneath that are John's debts, which will have to be paid off, and further down still you can see any additional income which Helen would receive in this eventuality. The final few pages, which I'll run through very quickly, cover the calculation of personal allowance, tax on child benefit, the calculation of income tax for both John and Helen, and also the calculations for their national insurance contributions. So there it is. What did you think?